begin with the second part of this chapter, electrochemistry, which also happens to be the last part. Okay, so all this while, what we have done, my dear students, we've studied about two types of electrochemical cells, one about electrolytic cell and the other one galvanic or voltaic cell. The last thing that we did was Daniel cell. Okay, so our focus will be more on galvanic cell because galvanic cell it converts chemical energy into electrical energy. So what next? Once the chemical energy is converted to electrical energy, the the task is to find out how that electric current can be measured. Using what techniques can we use? Using what concepts can we use? Measure electricity. So the words that we know that we can pick up from physics or electronics is potentials. Electrode potential, electric potential, or cell potential or standard potential or EMF of the cell. All these things you can relate with electric current or electricity, right? So our next step after we have converted in galvanic cell, converted chemical energy into electrical energy, let's move on to these concepts, that is electrode potentials and cell potential. Now what is electrode potential? Very simple. It is the difference of the electrical potential between metal electrode and the solution around it under equilibrium condition. Okay, so the electrode potential is nothing but the potential that is obtained between metal electrode. Remember, suppose if there is zinc sulfate and in that there is zinc rod in it. Okay, so the difference between the potential of that zinc rod and the zinc sulfate, that is a solution, it will be called as electrode potential. Now what is cell potential? Cell potential is the difference of the potentials between the electrodes. Remember, there are two different containers and it contains two electrodes, cathode and anode. So it is a difference of the potentials between the electrodes corresponding to an external flow of electrons from the left hand side electrode, which is anode, to right hand electrode. Okay, so if I have to calculate the overall cell, for a standard cell, okay, standard cell comes with a particular temperature, particular parameters. Okay, so all I do for the standard cell is I add the standard cell potential, standard electrode potential at the anode, standard electrode potential at the cathode. So what is the standard potential? It is the potential measured under standard conditions at 25 degrees Celsius, and it is designated as E0. Okay, now what is standard oxidation potential? Now oxidation takes place where? At which electrode? At anode. Reduction takes place where? At cathode. Okay, so let's look at E0OXI, which is a symbol for standard oxidation potential. The potential for the oxidation half reaction that occurs at the electrode when all the substances involved are in their standard states. Okay, so the potential for oxidation half reaction, that means at the anode, so whatever happens at the anode, that potential at standard conditions, I'll call it as standard oxidation potential. Whatever happens at the cathode, that is reduction at standard state, is called as standard reduction potential and denoted by E0 red. Okay, now standard EMF of the cell, that is E0 cell, suppose if I have to find out the E0, the standard EMF of the cell, it's called as cell potential also. So all I need to do is find out E0 cathode, E0 anode, and I just subtract it. Okay, so that's how I make use of the standard oxidation potential and standard reduction potential. Okay, that is to find out EMF of the cell. There is another very important equation called Nernst equation. This is something that you'll have to keep in mind because it's a potential question in the board exam. No? Now what is Nernst equation? The equation is E is equal to E0 minus RT upon NF ln Q. ln Q is natural log. Let's understand what these letters mean. E is cell potential. E0 is standard electrode potential of the cell. Okay, standard electrode potential of the cell. R, as you know, it is gas constant. T is temperature. Okay, N would be number of moles. Okay, so talking about Nernst equation. Okay, so I just spoke about those terms. So E0 is for the standard electrode potential. E is the cell potential. Cell potential basically it talks about the entire cell which contains both the electrodes. What is E0? It is the standard cell potential of that electrode. Okay, so N is equal to moles of electrons, that is number of moles of electrons. F is in Faraday, so if I have to convert that into coulombs, it becomes 96,500. T is temperature and R is gas constant. Okay, so E is equal to E0 minus 2.303 RT upon NF log to the base 10. Q is what? Reaction quotient, which is products upon reactants. Concentration of the products upon concentration of the reactants. This 2.303 factor we have come across earlier, if you remember. When I have to convert natural log to the base 10, I have to multiply it with a factor 2.303. Okay, so finally what we get is E is equal to E0 minus 0.05 N2 upon N log to the base 10 products upon reactants. For example, if I put instead of F, if I put 96 on 500, so this 2.303 upon 96 on 500 becomes 0.0592. So the final equation, which we call it as Nernst equation, it becomes E is equal to E0 minus 0.0592 upon N log to the base 10 products upon reactants. So will I be able to calculate cell potential using Nernst equation? Definitely yes. Okay, that's why we are studying this equation. Now, how do I calculate cell potential using Nernst equation? Let's take an example. An example of a cell formulation, a cell like this with Zn2 plus at the anode and H plus hydrogen with platinum. Okay. Now, because hydrogen and all they are in gaseous form, that's why we need a reference electrode. Okay. That's why we need a solid substance like a platinum or some other metal in substances like these. No, now here it's clear Zn is solid and Zn2 plus is liquid. No, so it's a solution of Zn, but here only H plus, it can be HCl, it can be any other acid, but H2 is gaseous. Okay, that's why we have platinum supporting that. Okay, so what happens at the anode? Zn arrow Zn2 plus 2e minus, because there is loss of electrons, and reduction at cathode 2H plus 2e minus arrow H2. So these are our half cell reactions or half reactions. Okay, so what will be the overall cell reaction? Zn plus 2H arrow Zn2 plus H2. So this is what I need the overall cell reaction for me to find out the EMF of the cell or the cell potential. Okay, E cell. So E cell, as per Nernst equation, E cell is equal to E0 cell minus 0.0592 upon N log to the base 10. What was it? Products upon reactants. Now what is products? Zn2 plus, okay, into the pressure of hydrogen upon H plus. So whatever is the solution, only that I'll consider, not solid. So one with only ionic charge, that's what I will consider. Now calculation, so using something like this, I should be able to calculate the cell potential. Now how do I calculate electrode potential? Okay, electrode potential is specific for a single half cell, isn't it? One container which contains zinc and a zinc solution. So what would that be? Now when I have something like this, it means, suppose if iron is on the left hand side and solid on the right hand side, this means I'm talking about reduction at the cathode. That's why I will show gain of electrons, Zn2 plus 2e minus arrow Zn. Suppose this would have been like this, Zn solid, vertical line Zn2 plus, that means it represents anode. Okay, then that would have been Zn arrow Zn2 plus 2e minus. Okay, but since they have a represented cell in this manner, so that's why our equation becomes like this. So electrode potential EEL is equal to E0 EL minus 0.0592 upon 2. Why 2? Because there are two electrons. So log to the base 10, 1 upon Zn2 plus. Okay, why Zn2 plus? Because I told you it's products upon reactants. right? So products will be what? Zn2 plus. As I said, we ignore solid, so we don't even mention anything on top in products. Okay, so this is what I get. Okay, so this is how we can calculate electrode potential for a particular electrode in a cell. Okay, so in this case, so what will happen is electrode potential is equal to standard electrode potential plus 0.0592 upon 2 log to the base 10 Zn2 plus. Now from where did this minus become plus? Because this denominator I've shifted to numerator. Okay, so automatically this minus becomes plus. Okay, let's take a look at cell potentials and Gibbs energy changes for cell reaction. Remember we did in the chapter chemical thermodynamics Gibbs energy. So the same energy for cell reactions and cell potentials can also be found out. Let's check out how. Now what is electrical work? Electrical work is nothing but amount of charge multiplied by cell potential. I repeat, amount of charge multiplied by cell potential. Now amount of charge is what? Number of moles of electrons into the charge. Okay, that is in Faraday multiplied by cell potential, that is E cell. So I can write down like this, NF E cell. Now reversible electrical work done is equal to decrease in Gibbs energy. Reversible electrical work done is equal to decrease in Gibbs energy. So electrical work becomes negative delta G. Okay, which means minus delta G is equal to NFE cell, or in other words, the standard Gibbs energy change, okay, becomes negative NFE0 cell. So if I have to find out E0, okay, the standard cell potential in terms of Gibbs energy change, I can get an equation like this, that is E0 is equal to minus delta G 0 upon NF. So my dear students, we've looked at cell potential E cell in this form, okay. E cell we have looked at in this form. We've looked at electrode potential in this form, okay, and we've looked at cell potential in Gibbs free energy form. Okay, please go through these videos and these slides carefully, my dear students. It will help you understand. The reason why I'm recording it so that you can go through it again and again so that you understand. Now let's come to the relationship between standard cell potential and equilibrium constant. Just few seconds ago, we saw relationship between Gibbs free energy change, okay, and cell potential. Now let's take a look at how I can relate standard cell potential, that is E0 cell, with equilibrium constant like letter K. Okay, we know that delta G0 is equal to minus N FE0 cell. Okay, this is something that we saw in the previous slide, isn't it? So the relation between standard Gibbs energy, that is delta G0, for a reaction and its equilibrium constant is this. This is something that we had seen in the chapter chemical thermodynamics. Delta G0 is equal to minus RT ln K. So when we combine or equate both these equations, can I write down like this? Minus NFE0 cell is equal to minus RT ln K. Yes, I can. So therefore E0 cell is equal to RT ln K upon NF. Now I can't be keeping natural log all the time. I need to convert that into log to the base 10. So that's why I put it 2.303 RT log to the base 10K upon NF. Now 2.303 upon F, that is 96 on 500, I can write down as 0.0592 and I can get rid of letter F, that is charge. Okay, so 0.0592 upon N is equal log to the base 10K, that is my cell potential. So I have an equation with delta G and cell potential. I have an equation with cell potential and equilibrium constant. So both these equations are very, very important. So depending on which term is given to you, accordingly we can apply that formula. Now let's find the cell potential experimentally. If I have to find out cell potential experimentally, all this while we were finding it out using a formula. No? How we can find out experimentally? Let's do that using a potentiometer. It's called as Poissondorff compensation method. Okay, so this is how your cell looks like. Okay, this is how your galvanic cell looks like. No, so there are two containers. See, look at this salt bridge. Look at this salt bridge. No, this glass tube. Okay, and these are two electrodes which are immersed in two different liquids. Okay, and then the wires are connected. Okay, so this is how the cell looks like with those two electrodes. Okay, dipped in the solutions. Let's take a look at the circuit diagram. Okay, now EMF of a cell. Okay, EMF of a cell. So ES is for the standard cell. EX is what we need to find out. So cell potential for an unknown cell. Okay, so this is how that entire structure is. Rheostat. Uh, I've there is a zigzag line here, like how generally we show it for resistance. So zigzag line, and this pointer touching that zigzag line. So there is a sliding contact which can move across this AB. So the sliding contact can be at D dash and D. So suppose EMF of the cell, that is ES, is directly proportional to length AD. Okay, and for EX it shows at the jockey, the sliding contacts gives a reading at D dash, so it becomes AD dash. No, so EX is directly proportional to length of AD dash. So dividing above equations, what do I get? EX upon ES is equal to length AD dash upon length AD. Therefore EX is equal to ES length AD dash upon length AD. So suppose if I already know the cell potential of the standard cell here. So this cell, suppose if I already know it, length AD dash and length AD can be calculated, right? During the course of the experiment, we come to know. So once I know these three values, can I be able to find out EX? Definitely yes. So using the potentiometer, using the Poisson-Dorf's compensation method, I can measure cell potential of the unknown cell. Okay, let's move on to study about electrodes. Now, what are these electrodes? Remember, I told you about cathode and anode. Those are the two electrodes. Now, these electrodes can be different. In fact, they are different, and every electrode has some role to play. No, so out of those two electrodes, my dear students, sometimes one of the electrodes is used as a reference electrode or a standard electrode. No, to find out the electrode potential of the other one, I need to know already in advance the electrode potential of the first electrode. Now, for example, in this case, suppose this is the electrode potential which I do not know. Okay, so this is can be used as an electrode potential as a reference electrode. Okay, both are electrodes, no doubt about it. Yeah, but then this acts as a reference electrode, and this is my electrode whose potential is unknown to me. Now remember, to find the cell potential, I need to know cell potentials of both the electrodes, isn't it? So as per the studies done in this chapter, okay, reference electrode is something whose potential is either taken as 0 volt or it is exactly known. So one electrode potential is already known, that's why we call it as a reference electrode. No? So what type of reference electrodes are there? So one is standard hydrogen electrode, which is also called as SHE. So there is standard hydrogen electrode and there is calomel electrode. So these are the couple of reference electrodes that we will be looking at, which is used in galvanic cell. Okay. Now, what is standard hydrogen electrode? A very, very important concept, my dear students. Like a question on construction of standard hydrogen electrode or explain standard hydrogen electrode. It does come in the exam. Okay. Now, how does it look like? Look at the figure here. So, since one electrode would have only one container, so this is how the construction is. So, there is a copper wire. Okay, there is this glass jacket, a glass tube. In that you'll find one copper wire. Right at the bottom there is a platinum foil. The spelling of platinum is incorrect here. It's it should be PLATINUM. So this N is by mistake. Okay, there is a mercury here. This entire solution is HCl solution. Okay, and there is an outlet for hydrogen gas. Okay, so copper wire At the end there is a platinum foil coated with platinum black, and there is mercury here. Okay, so this is the entire arrangement of a standard hydrogen electrode. Okay, so the cell representation can be done like this: H plus 1 molar vertical and H2 gaseous 1 atm. So talking about this cell representation, remember when I was showing you uh, the cell representation or cell formulation, that time we did come across something like this. No, one of the electrodes at the cathode was this cell, okay, or this electrode. No, so whenever you come across H plus 1 molar vertical and hydrogen gas at 1 atm pressure and platinum, okay, this means the electrode that is used is standard hydrogen electrode. Okay, now at anode what happens is there is H2 arrow 2H plus plus 2E minus, okay, because oxidation takes place, and at cathode 2H plus plus 2E minus arrow H2. Okay, so this SHE, that is standard hydrogen electrode, can act as both as anode as well as cathode. So when it acts as an anode, so that means it is shown on the left hand side of that cell representation. Correct? So when it acts as an anode, so it becomes this equation. This is how I show that equation. Suppose if it acts as a cathode, okay, which means it is shown on the right hand side, so it becomes 2H plus plus 2E minus arrow H2. Okay, but in both cases, what is the value? What is the electrode potential? 0 volts. Okay, so that's about standard hydrogen electrode. Let's take a look at the second type of electrode, that is calomel electrode. Now this is how the calomel electrode looks like. So there is a platinum wire, again it's made up of glass. Okay, so there's a platinum wire, there is saturated KCl solution, so there is a saturated KCl solution, okay, with mercury paste and mercury. So this entire thing is one container. Remember there are two containers required. So in calomel electrode, when that is used, when calomel electrode is used, it itself acts as one container. Now this outlet that you see over here, that goes to the salt bridge. Okay, so this is how, so this becomes one container and this becomes your calomel electrode. So this is your salt bridge. Okay, so let's write down the electrode reaction when calomel electrode is used. So at reduction, that means at cathode, I can write down like this. So gain of electrons when the calomel electrode acts as a cathode. So that mercury paste plus 2 had, that is mercury chloride plus 2 electrons gives mercury plus chloride ion. And if the calomel electrode is acting as an anode, the reaction becomes like this. So mercury plus 2Cl minus arrow Hg2Cl2 plus 2 minus. So I've just made it the other way around. No? So here I've shown gain of electrons because it acts as cathode. Here I've shown loss of electrons because it acts as anode for oxidation. Okay, let's look at the application of calomel electrode. This is how the cell looks like when calomel electrode is used. Okay, so in one container I've got zinc and zinc sulfate solution, and in other one, that is our calomel electrode, it contains what? KCl. No, so KCl solution. So this is how I represent cell when I use calomel electrode. So Zn, Zn2 plus, two lines, KCl saturated, one single line Hg2Cl2 solid, and slash Hg. So when you see where my cursor is moving, when you see something like this, it means we are using which electrode? Calomel electrode. So how do I find out the cell potential or the electrode potential? Okay, so it will be E cathode minus E0 Zn. Okay, so potential of calomel electrode, potential, that is your EC, will become E0 Zn is equal to EC minus E cell. So suppose if I know potential of calomel electrode, okay, and if I know the cell potential, I will be able to find out the potential of the other electrode, that is zinc. Okay, so E cell is what? E cathode minus E anode, isn't it? That's the formula that we did earlier. E cathode minus E anode. Now in this case, cathode is acting what? Which electrode? Calomel electrode. That's why instead of this C is actually for calomel, not for cathode. Okay, so keep that thing in mind. But because that cathode is your calomel electrode, that's why it becomes EC. Zn is what at anode, so E0 Zn. Okay, so this is about calomel electrode and how to determine the electrode potential of an electrode. Okay, so which electrode potential we have to find out of anode, that is zinc, using what? Using which reference electrode? Calomel electrode. Let's move on and study about common types of cells. Now, which are those common types of cells? One cell is dry cell. Dry cell is something that we use at home. Remember, I've been referring to Everready, Nippo. No, so all these are dry cells. No? So when we open it or when we operate a dry cell, no, so this is what you will find. You'll find a carbon rod inside it. No? So there'll be manganese oxide powder with electrolyte paste. There'll be zinc container. There will be moist paste, of ammonium chloride and zinc chloride, which is used as electrolyte. Okay, so all these things are there inside your ever ready batteries, you know, so which you must have seen in the physics lab, those fat big ones, no, cylindrical batteries, no, red ones. So those are Lagrange's cell or dry cell. Now, how do I write down the cell reaction for a dry cell? So at anode, so that means that so when oxidation takes place at anode, so it will be zinc arrow Zn2 plus 2E minus. So reduction at cathode will be what? Now it contains what? Ammonium chloride and zinc chloride. So I need to have ammonium, NH4 plus is my ammonium chloride, plus MnO2 plus 2E minus. Since it is reduction, those there will be gain of electrons, Mn2O3 plus 2NH3 plus H2O. So the net cell reaction, when I put all the left hand sides together and right hand sides together, the net cell reaction is Zn solid plus 2NH4 plus 2MnO2 arrow Zn2 plus Mn2O3 plus 2NH3. The next type of cell is lead accumulators. Lead accumulators, or it's also called as lead storage battery. Okay, so in this, as you can see the diagram here, okay, this is something that used in cars, no? So storage batteries which contains acid. So H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid, serves as an electrolyte. I don't know whether you have tried lifting that battery. It is so heavy, it is very heavy, no, because it contains these plates. It also contains acid. So how do I write the notation of the cell? Lead solid, lead sulfate, okay, again, which is a substance there inside it. Okay, plates in a solution is what? Sulfuric acid and water. Then there is 38% sulfuric acid. Again, there is lead sulfate, lead oxide, and lead. So this is the entire notation of the cell in lead accumulators. Working of the cell. Okay, working of the cell reactions during discharge. Okay, and cell reactions while charging. So these are the two things that we'll be looking at. Now, this dry cell, my dear students, it's like use and throw. Remember, can can you recharge your ever ready cells or Nippo cells? No. Once it gets drained, you have to throw it and replace it with another one. No? But which means it cannot be recharged again or charged again. But lead accumulators, it can be charged. That means the working of the cell will have two things, two reactions. One is during discharge. I'll give an example using mobile phone. So suppose if you're carrying mobile phone with you while traveling, that means what is happening with your phone? It is getting discharged. So whatever you have charged, it is getting discharged as in when you're using it. No? But when you plug it in to a charger, okay, so that time it is getting charged. So there are two things, two processes happening with your mobile phone. One is discharge, okay, and the other one is getting charged. So when you're charging it. So let's look at this lead accumulator during discharge. So what happens? That time cell functions as galvanic cell. Cell functions as galvanic cell means chemical reaction, chemical energy is getting converted into electrical energy. So let's come back to the example of mobile phone. So mobile phone, why it doesn't require an electrical source when you're traveling? Because there is a chemical reaction that is taking place, which is converting its energy into electrical energy, and that's how your mobile function remains on throughout. No, okay? And that 100% becomes 99, 98, 97 because the chemical energy is supplying power to it. Okay, so cell reaction during discharge, oxygen oxidation reaction at the anode. Okay, so what reaction takes place? Pb plus sulfate, that is SO4 2 minus, arrow Pb sulfate plus 2 electrons. Right, so there is loss of electrons. That's how this reaction becomes like this. Okay, now let's see. So what happens at the cathode reduction? So PbO2 plus 4H plus SO4 2 minus plus 2E minus gives PbSO4 plus 2H2O. So clearly you can see there is gain of electrons. That means reduction is taking place. So net cell will be what? I just need to add the right hand side, that is Pb plus SO4 2 minus. Okay, and then the left hand sides. So this entire thing becomes what? Pb plus PbO2 plus 2H2SO4. Okay, now how does this become 2H2SO4? Because there is one SO4 2 minus here, there's one SO4 2 minus here, and there is 4H. Okay, so 4H and 2 SO4, 2 SO4. So 2 electrons are there on both sides, so it gets cancelled. So this is how I get my net cell reaction during discharge. Okay, what about recharging of the cell? Recharging of the cell. Now, cell functions as electrolytic cell, which means electrical energy is getting converted into chemical energy. So when I plug it in, my dear students, the electric current which is there, it is going to my mobile phone for what? For that energy to get converted to chemical energy. So electrical energy is now getting converted to chemical energy, and in that phone, that chemical energy is being stored, so that the moment I remove the charger, the stored chemical energy then starts acting as a galvanic cell. No? So that galvanic cell converts chemical energy into electrical energy. So the entire reaction is shown over here. So net cell reaction during recharge. That earlier one that we saw was for discharge. Now this is for recharge. So 2 PbSO4 plus 2 H2O, arrow Pb plus PbO2 plus 2 H2SO4. Please study these reactions, my dear students. They are important. So with that, we are done with types of cells. One is which cannot be recharged, that is the dry cell, and one it can be recharged, that is lead accumulators. Let's go to another type of cell, which is fuel cells. Okay, so hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, in which H2 gas gets converted into electrical energy on combustion. So which reaction takes place? Combustion reaction helps in converting chemical energy into electrical energy. So such kind of fuel cells like hydrogen oxygen, it's also called as H2O2 fuel cell. Okay, wherein hydrogen gas is used. So the reaction is given over here. What happens at the anode? What happens at the cathode? The net cell reaction. So what is the cell potential of an H2O2 fuel cell? 1.23 volts. So suppose if at all a question comes in the MCQ that what is the cell potential of H2O2, you just need to remember 1 to 3 and put a point after 1. Okay, so 1.23 volts. What are the advantages of fuel cells? It is highly efficient and it's almost pollution free. But there are also some drawbacks. Okay, disadvantages. The cost of preparing hydrogen gas is very high, and the voltage that is obtained, it's quite less due to reversible behavior. Okay, so these are the drawbacks of H2O2 fuel cell. Let's take a look at something called as electrochemical series. Now what is this electrochemical series? It is actually a table. Okay, a table which gives reduction potentials values in decreasing order. Okay, so it is the arrangement of elements in order of decreasing standard reduction potential values. Okay, lower the standard reduction potential of an element, higher it higher is its reducing capability. Okay, so electrochemical series or electromotive series is what? It is the arrangement of elements in the order of decreasing. I'm stressing on the word decreasing standard reduction potential values. Okay. Now, what are the applications of it? We can find out the relative strength of oxidizing agents. We can find out the relative strength of reducing agents, and we can also be able to identify the spontaneous direction of the reaction. The direction of the reaction. So, the applications is what we were looking at, my dear students, of electrochemical series. I'll quickly recap the applications. It is used to find out the relative strength of oxidizing agent, okay, strength of reducing agents, in terms of which values? Cell potential values. Okay, they are electrode potential values. And finally, identifying the spontaneous direction of the reaction. So this is why electrochemical series is used. So if at all a question comes in the exam, explain electrochemical series, you have to first write down the definition of it, okay, followed by applications. Or they might just specifically ask you, write the applications of electrochemical series, wherein you need to write down this. And finally, my dear students, we have reached the last part of this chapter, that is corrosion. Okay. Now, corrosion is also kind of an electrochemical reaction, no, wherein uh, it becomes rusty. The metals, it gets oxidized, no, especially iron because of moisture and air. Air contains what? Oxygen. No, so it undergoes oxidation, and that's how it catches rust. No. Now, because of rust, my dear students, a lot of companies and they are incurring losses because of rust in lakhs and crores. No, because there are huge buildings, they are getting damaged because of corrosion. So, what can we do to to prevent corrosion to a large extent? There are these points here. Coating metal surface by paint, that is something that we do at home. We keep painting the metal surfaces from getting rusted, because that layer helps that moisture to not to react on the surface. Galvanizing is another option. Cathodic protection is a very good option to ensure the metal is protected. Passivation, that means making the surface inactive to any kind of reaction. And finally is alloy formation. Earlier they used to use iron vessels, but because it used to get rusted, that's why we have now stainless steel, which doesn't catch rust. So these are different ways that metals can be protected from getting corroded. So I hope, my dear students, you have followed everything that I've spoken about. If you don't, not an issue. You can just keep watching these videos. And if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask me at any moment. You can just WhatsApp me or with your doubts. I'll be more than happy to clarify all your doubts. Okay, please watch these videos, and in my class, I will be taking numericals with you. Okay, thank you and God bless you.